Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. Today in our reading, if you could pick out the theme of our reading, I think it's pretty obvious what that theme would be, and that's worship. Worship comes out time and time again in our reading, particularly in David's assigning the Levites to worship there in the city of David. He appoints singers, he appoints those who would play on various musical instruments. And you even see David here producing a psalm of praise, a psalm of worship in chapter 16. And so there's a lot of worship going on in our reading today. And I really enjoyed reading these chapters today because it is so full of worship. But all of this really stems from the fact that the Ark of the Covenant was brought into the city of David and put into the tent that David had pitched for it. This caused the people to worship, and not only worship, but really worship from the depths of their heart. And David with the linen garments and the ephod, just worshiping his heart out, and all the people around him as well. And this is appropriate. Where the presence of God is, there is always worship. If you fast forward all the way to the book of Revelations, you find in the throne room, in the direct presence of God, everyone's worshiping. There is worship. The elders are falling down before him. The angels are worshiping. There's just a lot of worship going on, and they're in the direct presence of God. But also, not only that, we also find that when, in our own spiritual lives, when we experience God's presence, it always issues out in worship. Yesterday in our devotion, we talked about the presence of God and how wonderful and how sweet it is to have God's presence here with us. And when God is so near, and when we feel His presence all around us, it always produces worship. It issues out in worship. Because where God is, there is worship. But not only is that true, there's also the fact that when we worship God, it ushers in His presence. In other words, if we would but take the effort to just worship God, and not worship Him because we want this feeling or we want to feel some type of emotion or something like that, but just worship Him because He is worthy to be worshiped. And when we worship Him from the depths of our hearts, it ushers in His presence. When you spend time just praising the Lord, whether it's worshiping Him in a song, or if it's just worshiping Him in a prayer, just saying words of worship to Him, telling Him how much you love Him, how much you adore Him, how much He means to you. When you talk to Him about how worthy He is and how holy He is, and you begin to speak those words to the Lord, that ushers in His presence. You begin to feel His presence all around. And so this is kind of a cycle that happens. As we worship the Lord, we usher in His presence. As we experience His presence, it issues out into more worship. And so, before we know it, we are just saturated with God, saturated with His presence, filled with worship, filled with praise before Him. And there's just this wonderful experience of God. And so this is my encouragement to you guys today and to myself. Let's spend today worshiping the Lord. Our reading is filled with worship, so let's let our day be filled with worship. And let's usher in the presence of God through a heart that worships Him from the depths and worships Him with all of our strength and all of our might. Well, I thank you guys for listening in today. I hope you guys do have a great day. I love you guys. God bless.